Hey, Bastish BF for 64K, and welcome to episode number 19 of Loot and Booty. And welcome back. So if you never watched this show before, this is my adventures thrifting around my local area, looking for cool retro games and just cool pop culture merchandise in general. So today I'm heading out to the King of Trade. It's one of my favorite stores, and I'm going to see if I can find any cool retro games to pick up. So it's still going to be a little while before we get to the King of Trade. So in the meantime, you can go and check out all my latest thrifting adventures.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
The Turbo 2000 Super is a new wireless gamepad released by Comatron and is for use on many of your favorite 8 and 16-bit systems. Simple 9-pin joystick dongle interface, extremely easy setup, just plug and play, with up mapped to a button for easy platform gaming action. Available in 4 different cosmetic designs and multiple autofire speed settings, and compatible with the following original computers and systems. Check out the links in the video description to pick up your own Turbo 2000 today. And so I get asked this all the time, how do you get the money to go thrifting all the time? Well, I actually don't. As you can see, every time I go thrifting, I go and deposit all the bottles and recyclables, and I get quite a bit of money out of that. I get at least $20 to $30 each time, which is more than enough for thrifting. Also, when you donate stuff at thrift stores, you get a coupon. I get a 20% off coupon of anything, and that contributes everything to buying stuff at thrift stores, which is all 100% free. And yes, some trashy game collection as per usual. I found a couple of cool Xbox games here. Xbox 360, Turning Point. I never played this. It was supposed to be decent. Always wanted to give it a go. And ooh, Quick and the Dead, Sam Raimi Western classic. I'll definitely take that for sure. And I found a cassette in the electronic section. Oh my god, Michael Bolton, you've tainted the electronic section, dude. And I don't even know why I brave the vinyls anymore, but anyway, Wayne Watson, Watercolor Ponies? What? Dude, Wayne, what is wrong with you? You need to get some help there, dude. And she has one of those dance pads. You used to see these things everywhere. They're almost non-existent these days. And I spotted good old Mortal Kombat. This is one of the complete edition. I think this one had Freddy Krueger, yeah. And I found a bunch of VHS here. Red Heat with Arnold, nice. Found Chai Fat, City on Fire, super cool. And also this one, good old Raw Deal. I haven't seen that one since I was a kid. So obscure. If you go vinyl collecting, you're always going to come across a Herb Alpert record, guaranteed, so just be ready for that. Oh my god, Streisand, no, tainted. And I also found this Bourne Conspiracy game. I always wanted to try this, I only ever played the demo of it. And what the heck is this? Enchanted Musical Playhouse? Rabbit? Marie Osmond? Ah! What type of tainted thing is this? No. And I found this cool cassette player. I didn't even know what this was used for. It's very strange. I'm not really into audio, so I'm not 100% sure. I actually picked this up and cleaned it up. It's super cool. Found Legend, the good old Ridley Scott fantasy movie. It's heavily flawed, but I still kind of like it. And I found a few big box games. Yeah, I know this is complete garbage, but it's still kind of fun to see. SimCity 2000, I already have that, so I didn't really need... Oh, whoa. F-22 Lightning 2, oh my goodness, such a good flight sim. Sealed as well for $6. Can't believe I found that. And some old trashy games. I found Myst Revelation for the original Xbox. Never really played this one. And some more vinyl. Jeez, dude. You could have picked a better picture for the cover. Like, come on. And Western songs, Johnny Pulio and his harmonica game. What? A study in high fidelity sound? I don't think so, Johnny. Come on, dude. Come on. Anyway. Oh, jeez. The best of the emeralds? Are you kidding me? They have no... Dude, if you take a picture, make sure your background doesn't clash with your hair. You look like a bunch of muties. Sweet goodness. And as usual, these guys just have no idea what to put behind glass. All this stuff is priced as it would be at a game store, so it's completely pointless to buy it here. It's always weird to see newer games in thrift stores. If it was cheaper, I might have picked that up. And what do we have here? TRS-80 computer. What? 39. I've got a coupon. It's going to be half that. Sweet. And I found this Pac-Man board game. I definitely would have got this. Looks like early 80s, but it's so trashed up. I just couldn't, even though it was pretty cheap. And some more big box games. I found Microsoft Flight Simulator 98. Pretty cool. It was cheap, so I got it. And some more vinyl. Don't even know why I try. Oh, jeez, Mac David. It's hard to be humble. Ah, gross. Mac, no. Tainted it again. Some more VHS. I can't believe I found this. Nemesis 2. Are you kidding me? What an obscure piece of sci-fi trash. I love it. Haven't seen this movie since the 90s. And they have no idea about pricing. They put the cheapest games I've ever seen behind glass. I mean, seriously, come on. And somebody dumped their entire Shonen Jump collection here. Not really into this style of manga, so give it a pass. And I found Braddock, Missing in Action 3, another movie I haven't seen since the 90s. And Outlaw Tennis, I already have that, otherwise I probably would have picked that up. Tales of Vesperia, what a cool find. I played and completed this back in the day. Very cool game. Check if it's complete. Yep, 100%. Awesome. And I found one of my favorite David Lynch movies, Lost Highway. I like the VHS. It's a bit beat up. It's just the way I like it. And some decent PS3 games if I collected them. I just don't. PS3 doesn't really interest me for some reason. It's nice to see a Genesis game mixed in here, even though it's a trashy sports game. Still pretty cool. And a few more VHS finds here. Got a double dose of the Karate Kid, Karate Kid 2 and 3. And look at this calculator, it's such satisfying buttons. Damn. And some more mediocre games here behind glass as per usual. They have no clue. Okay, so let's start checking part one of all my pickups from the last couple months. First up is this double dose of VHS. I got Karate Kid 2 and 3. Pretty cool. And I remember watching Karate Kid 2 in the cinema as a kid. I really didn't like it. You know, it just wasn't, I didn't like it as much as the first one, which I'd watch on VHS. But in recent years, I've rewatched this movie and it's actually really good. And this is really underrated. Good old Karate Kid 3. A lot of people kind of dismiss this one. It's actually really good as well. It's a nice little trilogy. Now I've got all of them. And we got a cassette pickup. This is Corey Hart's First Offense. This has got Sunglasses at Night. Obviously the 80s classic. You just can't go wrong with that piece of good cheese. So definitely bought that just for that. And some more VHS. I got a double dose of Reservoir Dogs and Last Man Standing. So obviously Reservoir Dogs, everybody knows this. You know, Tarantino classic. Yeah, why not? This was like $1, so great movie. Haven't watched it in ages. This though is a pretty cool movie that's totally worth watching. It's kind of been completely forgotten. This movie was directed by Walter Hill. He did like The Warriors and 48 Hours and a whole bunch of good underrated action movies. Anyway, so this is Bruce Willis. This is Bruce Willis as is most Bruce Willis-y. He's just, cheesed off the whole time and he's just wasting dudes. The action in this is really good. It's very short bursts of action in this movie. There's no big set pieces, but when the action goes down in this movie, it's really, really good. It's like a John Woo movie almost. Definitely worth checking this one out. And this was a pretty cool pickup, especially in a thrift store. I got Tales of Vesperia. This is on the Xbox 360. This is part of Namco's Tales series. They kind of RPGs, action RPGs. Very cool series. I played one of them on PlayStation 1 back in the day, and This one I really enjoyed. It's really fun. The graphics are really nice, cel shaded, if you like that kind of thing. Pretty epic game. Another double dose of VHS. We got 2 80s, early 90s action movies. We got good old Missing in Action 3 with Chuck Norris. This is a Canon movie production, so you know it's going to be cheeseball. And yeah, this movie's cheese. Again, I haven't watched this movie since probably it originally came out. I don't even remember anything about it except the end when he's trying to get these kids across a bridge and he shoots up a bunch of dudes. That's all I remember about this movie, so I'm interested to see it again. The other one is Red Scorpion with Dolph Lundgren. This movie is pretty cool. I watched it when I was a kid in the 80s. The reason I watched this because it was actually shot in South Africa where I used to live. So it's very like, just the look of it is very South African. It's supposed to be in the desert in the Middle East somewhere, but you can tell if you lived in South Africa that this is shot there. But anyway, I just noticed this over here. It was directed by Joseph Zito. He also did Invasion USA, I believe. If it's the same Joseph Zito, I mean, it has to be, then that's pretty cool. I never knew that, so a little bit of info. This was one of those super cheap games. This was like $2 or $3 or something like that. I just had to pick it up. I remember playing the demo of this. This is the Bourne Conspiracy. It's based on the, I don't know, it's more based on the books than the actual movies, but this is not Matt Damon. So, and published by Sierra. I remember playing the demo of this and it was pretty decent. So anyway, this was like super cheap. I thought I'd give it a go. And this was a double dose of VHS that I was never expecting to find ever. I'm really happy I found it. This was super lucky. So this is Nemesis 2 and 3. So if you don't know anything about these movies, they kind of post-apocalyptic movies, and they were directed by a guy called Albert Pan. He recently passed away. He was a Filipino director. He did like kind of post-apocalyptic movies. Jean-Claude Van Damme movie called Cyborg, if you've seen that, that's an Albert Pan movie. He did tons. The first Nemesis movie is absolutely epic. I love it. It was ripped off a million times in Hollywood after that. But there's a whole bunch of sequences in that movie that were done first in that movie, in an action movie, and they were later ripped off in a movie called Underworld, a vampire movie, and a whole bunch of others. But he did it first. So he did like epic movies with no budgets. Anyway, he has Nemesis 2 and 3. I've actually seen Nemesis 2. I've never seen the third one though, so this is going to be interesting. So good bit of cheese. And a double dose of action movies. First up we got Arnold's Raw Deal. I haven't watched this movie since the 80s, and I remember this is the one where he takes out a whole lot of mafia dudes, and it's got the old classic line, "Don't drink and bake." This movie was fun. Actually looking forward to watching this again. I just hardly remember anything about this movie besides a couple one-liners. But yeah, this came right in the middle of a whole bunch of his big movies that came out, so it kind of gets a bit forgotten. And he has Once Upon a Time in Mexico, the Robert Rodriguez kind of sequel to Desperado. Not really a sequel, sort of a sequel. But anyway, nowhere near as good as Desperado, obviously, so we can just put that aside. But as like a standalone movie, it's pretty fun. Johnny Depp is excellent in this movie. Antonio Banderas, the kind of mariachi, he's kind of like sidelined in this movie. His scenes are awesome whenever he is in the movie, but he's kind of a second player. This is still a cool movie though. It's got a lot of really cool sequences. It doesn't all mash together perfectly. That's a typical Robert Rodriguez movie though, I find, but it's still kind of fun, dumb fun action. And this was one of my favorite finds of the last couple months. This is F-22 Lightning 2. This is an Electronic Arts release, PC big box game. Can't believe I found this in a thrift store. I used to find these all the time, like I've mentioned in previous episodes. They virtually don't exist anymore. Very cool flight simulator, by the way, action flight simulator. This is a CD-ROM version. Obviously, it's got all the manuals and everything in here, which is super cool. So this was a nice find. And here is the TRS-80. I got it set up in my retro computer corner. I cleaned it up, as you can see. I got a flash card over there for it, which can play like every single game. And I bought an adapter so I can use my Atari 2600 joystick with it. And it works perfectly. As you can see, I got a text adventure game here set up, and I was just messing around. Got so many games to mess around on the system. So I can't believe I got that for 20 bucks.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
And the last couple months I've been up to Calgary a whole bunch of times for various things. I'll show you some of the things I found up there. Got these cassettes, brand new ones for 50 cents each. Had to pick up a few. Let's see what Calgary's... Oh my goodness. I've never been to me. Charlene, what is that even supposed to mean? Do something with your hair. My goodness. What's going on there? Woody. Yeah, we know what Woody's looking at. Next. And oh god, Liberace. Calgary's vinyl is just as bad as where I live. My goodness. Oh, Renegades. Damn. Haven't seen this movie in decades. Super cool. And I'm braving the vinyl for no apparent reason. Best of. Let's see. Oh my goodness, the Rhythm Pals. Are you kidding me? 30 golden hits. Dudes, you don't even have one. Come on, such lies. And if you want to be really, really depressed, you can check out Less Than Zero. Decided to get this. Soundtrack on this movie is super cool also. And I found a PSP movie. Unfortunately, it's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Such a train wreck of a movie. And what do we... Whoa. Edgar Winter Grip. They only come out at night. Of course they do. Holy moly, Tainted. And, ooh, Red Scorpion, Dolphy, love it, getting that. And I'm checking out some cassettes, usually it's trash, but I found a few good ones. Got Tom Petty here, and I got some cheesy Corey Hart, of course. I tried to brave it some more, Bad Mistake, Streisand Memories, no, Tainted. And we went over to the Goodwill, see what they have. A whole bunch of Walking Dead being dumped here. Oops. Eagle Annual. Woo. Nice. I haven't seen one of these since the 80s. And I always thought this was the worst Star Wars movie ever made until I seen the new ones, the new trilogy, Tainted. Anyway, Joe vs. the Volcano, Joe Dante movie, totally worth watching. And this excellent Bruce Willis movie that's just been completely forgotten. And I also found Brothers in Arms on the 360. This is a pretty good game. I'll get it if it's cheap. Yeah, $4. Yeah, why not? The vinyls, why do I even bother anymore? Russ Hollingsworth, love it at any cost. Russ, I think it's going to cost quite a lot for you, pal. And I found a bunch of these Batman animated series. Man, I would have picked these up if they're a little bit cheaper. I'm not paying $9, even though they're super cheap and I could have flipped those, but whatever. Now, if I saw this as a kid and that bunny was reading songs to me, I would have ran away. That's some serious nightmare fuel. And Charlie McCoy, what? There's no way, Charlie. Charlie's my boy, come on. You live in a fantasy, Charlie. Snap back to reality, dude. Oh, come on, Streisand, no, Tainted. And every time I come to Calgary, I gotta stop at Video Game Trader, and I just like to check things out. Sometimes I don't even buy anything. Look at this cool Commodore phone and a Vic 20, so cool. Excellent Mega Drive collection. Pity they weren't selling the game separately, otherwise I might have got something there. Good old Turbo Graphics, don't see those much anymore. And this JVC XR, that's super rare. This PC Engine was super cool. It even has an LCD screen. Damn, never seen that before. Just before I was leaving, I happened to notice this gem, Street Fighter the movie. Been looking for this on VHS, but damn, Laserdisc will do. And more thrifting pickups, round 2. I got The Hard Way and Legend. So Legend is the Ridley Scott movie from the mid-80s. Pretty good movie, really underrated. It's got a lot of issues, like most of his movies, but visually this movie is amazing. It's worth watching it just for the visual style. The Hard Way is the most underrated cop buddy movie ever made. If you've never seen this, you're doing yourself a disservice. James Woods and Michael J. Fox are absolutely perfect in this movie. The comedy is on point. It's directed by John Badham. He did a lot of really good underrated movies. You gotta watch this movie, it's absolutely hilarious. I got this, Brothers in Arms, Hell's Highway. This is a pretty good series. It kind of faded out. I don't know what really happened with this series. It's kind of like a strategy action game. It's quite different than what you expect. There were so many generic first-person shooters, World War II first-person shooters at this time. It kind of saturated the whole it made me not want to play first-person shooters, to be perfectly honest. This game came along. This is the second one, I believe, if I remember correctly. And these ones kind of changed it up a bit and really made me, it's done by Gearbox Software, really made me like this genre again, even though this is not a first-person shooter. It's got some sort of elements, but it's more of a strategy game. Very cool. And some more VHS cheese. We got Red Heat and Renegades. So Red Heat is another Arnold movie. This is another one I only watched in the 80s and I've never rewatched ever again. This is a cool team-up movie with James Belushi and Arnold. East meets West kind of thing. I believe this is a Walter Hill movie. Walter Hill, you know, we just looked at that earlier. He did Last Man Standing. Like I said, that's underrated. This is also kind of underrated, to be honest. And this is a movie I completely forgot about. I just forgot it existed. This is called Renegades with Lou Diamond Phillips and Kiefer Sutherland. The reason why I like this movie so much is that it reunites the dudes from Young Guns 1 and 2, obviously. And this was like a bounty hunter movie. I don't remember anything about this movie. Absolutely nothing. I just remember I kind of enjoyed it. So this is going to be a fun ride. Yeah, we got Assassin's Creed Rogue. I believe this was the last Assassin's Creed game released on this generation of consoles. I remember this coming out right when the newer generation ones started coming out, and it kind of got completely lost in the shuffle. I kind of got burnt out on these games, to be honest. I played the first 4 and I completed all of them like a madman, and then I was almost done. I went and played Black Flag though, enjoyed the hell out of that and finished it, and I've never played another one since. But this is interesting. I think this is one where you actually hunt assassins, so it's kind of weird. And yeah, I haven't played this yet, but it's really cool picking this up. You don't see this game very often. Some more VHS cheese. We got Days of Thunder and The Quick and the Dead. Quick and the Dead is an awesome Western movie. If you've never seen this, you really should. Don't be put off by the fact that it's got Sharon Stone in the main lead. She's really iffy, but anyway, in this movie, it kind of works. Don't ask me how. This is directed by Sam Raimi, and this is super Sam Raimi style. It's like Evil Dead. It's got a lot of Evil Dead kind of camera work and Darkman kind of vibes going on in here. It's super cool. Leonardo DiCaprio is really likable in this movie. It's got a whole bunch of cool actors. Gene Hackman is excellent. Lance Henriksen, just so many good actors. It's kind of a weird Western. Definitely check this one out. Days of Thunder, you know, people always like, oh, that's Top Gun and cars. Yeah, it is Top Gun and cars, but who cares? It's awesome. It's just a fun movie. You know, typical movie of this time. Tom Cruise is likable. Everybody's likable in this movie. It's just a fun ride. There's a double dose of action movies, The Quest and City on Fire. So City on Fire is a pretty good Chow Yun-Fat movie. It's definitely not one of his best ones, although according to Tarantino, this is one of his best. I don't agree with that. There's also like a sequence from here that is, you know, it was blatantly ripped off in Reservoir Dogs, but that's okay. I don't mind that. I don't mind homages to movies in other movies. I think that's kind of cool. And this is a good one. It's directed by Ringo Lam. He did a lot of really good Hong Kong action movies. It's a good heist movie. It's definitely worth checking out. Obviously, my favorite Chow Yun-fat movie is Hard Boiled. You can't even touch that. It's just epic. But City on Fire is pretty decent. This is another one to the Jean-Claude Van Damme collection. I'm getting pretty close to having a complete set of at least like 80s and 90s movies at this point, so that's pretty cool. I forgot about this one as well. I watched this quite a lot in the mid to late 90s. This one was directed by Jean-Claude. It's actually a pretty good, it's a typical tournament movie. It's basically blood sport set in like, you know, the Far East, and they fight on this like island or whatever. It's got Roger Moore's in here, which is cool. Roger Moore's just playing himself as usual, but it's still kind of fun to see him in this movie. And yeah, the action is very short. That's the only thing about this movie. The action is way too quick. There's never any big massive brawls, but there's a lot of action. Fun movie. And I picked up this Tom Petty cassette. This is Full Moon Fever. This has got a lot of epic songs on here. It's got Free Falling, I Won't Back Down, Running Down a Dream, and a whole lot more. That's a lot of really good classic rock songs. I got a couple of these sealed old stock cassettes, 50 cents each, as you can see. This is super cool. I can resell this if I want. They're always worth a lot. I can make a mixtape, I guess. Haven't done that since the 80s, but I thought I'd just get these just in case I need to use it for something. Yeah, the double dose of some heavy movies. This is Lost Highway and Less Than Zero. Less Than Zero is a pretty depressing movie. This has got Robert Downey Jr. This is like mid 80s, probably 85, somewhere around there. And yeah, it's basically him just playing himself back in the 80s when he was self-destructing. This is a pretty heavy movie to watch. I watched this as a kid, which I definitely shouldn't have been watching it, but it's got a really cool soundtrack. I remember that. I'm interested in watching this again. The other one that's pretty interesting for some people anyway, this is David Lynch's Lost Highway. I'm a big David Lynch fan. I like the weirdness of his movies. This was definitely right up there with the weirdness. I can't even really explain to you what the plot of this movie is because I don't even know it myself. Basically, this dude becomes another dude. That's all I can tell you. And it's got some really creepy parts in this movie. This is one part where this one dude says something to this guy near the beginning about a telephone call. Sent like chills down my spine when I originally watched it. I don't know why. There's something creeped me out about it. But if you want to watch something super bizarre, check this out. The soundtrack is awesome as well. And another VHS. This is called Trespass. This was done completely unintentionally. I didn't actually realize I'd done this, but this is actually another Walter Hill movie. Already seen a few of his movies. Yeah, this is another one that's super underrated action movie. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's got an awesome cast. It's got Bill Paxton, Ice-T, William Sadler, and Ice Cube. I think it was written by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis. Give me a second, yeah. Yeah, the guys that wrote Back to the Future. Super weird. Such a weird combination if you watch this movie. This movie is awesome. It's about a bunch of guys going on a treasure hunt in the hood. Things happen. I don't want to explain everything because it's actually pretty cool. It's really intense, and this is a good movie that basically nobody has seen. And this was a really unexpected find in a Canadian thrift store because this is Eagle. This is an annual from 1985. This is a British kind of publication. They used to publish them, I would say either weekly or monthly. It's kind of like a anthology series with a whole bunch of different characters in comic book form, just different stories, kind of like Tales from the Crypt, but it was more like science fiction and stuff aimed at like dudes, you know, like action and science fiction. Probably the most popular character that came out of that was Dan Dare. He was published in Eagle, if you played the video games or the Commodore 64 and stuff like that. So this was a super cool find. I can't believe like it was in a Canadian thrift store. You just don't see this over here. I'm sure in England you probably like can go to any thrift store and find this like really easily. But anyway, it was cool to see here, so I had to pick it up. This was another weird find. Microsoft Flight Simulator 98, big box version. yeah, I really like this series. I've played a lot of them, especially the really older ones. I never really played the later ones in the late 90s. I usually wouldn't pick this kind of thing up because I need to like pick up stuff that I actually would want to actually seriously play. But you don't see big box PC games in stores anywhere anymore, and it was like $5 or something. I just couldn't pass this up, so I just had to get it. I've got a lot of the Flight Simulator series anyway, so add that one to the collection. And this was one of my favorite pickups, this Street Fighter the movie on Laserdisc, another one to the Jean-Claude collection. I still haven't found this on VHS for some weird reason. I think people have actually started liking this movie. They definitely didn't like it when it originally came out, and this thing was in the bargain bin everywhere, but now it's become like a cult classic, so now you can't find it anywhere. Anyway, I got the Laserdisc version. I got this from their video game store recently. Super happy to get it. It's a super cheesy movie. It's probably one of the most accurate video game to movie kind of translations you can possibly get. So much so that it's painfully obvious that it's ridiculous, but there's some sort of really good retro charm about it. Raul Julia as M. Bison is epic. He's got such good one-liners. Actually, everybody's good in this movie. It's not a hardcore interpretation of Street Fighter, but then what do you actually expect? Street Fighter is just a bunch of dudes fighting. This is a fun movie. You should check it out if you haven't.
Hey, I've just pulled outside the King of Trade here. I'm gonna go inside and see what they got.
And it looks like they got a whole lot of fresh retro consoles that have just come in. These weren't out the last time I came here. And looking in the bargain bin, Solar Fox. Lots of Famicom games also, which is pretty cool. The import section is impressive. Good old Street Fighter. I like this little Marvel kind of arcade cabinet. They got JoJo's on the PSX. And the Sonic 1, 2, and 3 Japanese. These are some pretty high dollar games over here. And Defender, what? Frogger? What? And Macross on the PSX. And Vanguard here, pretty cool. And checking out some of these Japanese wrestling games. I just learned a lot about Japanese wrestling games from a video I recently did. Good old Sparta Fighter. So over the last few months, I've picked up a couple games from King of Trade. This isn't everything I just picked up in one go, obviously. I only buy like 1 or 2 games at a time. So this is obviously over the last few months. So I'll show you what I've picked up from there. First up is Bushido Blade 2. This is by Square on the PS1. This is the Japanese PSX version. And this is a super cool series. It's a samurai, sword fighting kind of, versus game. What I like about these games is that it's like kind of one-hit kills and you're dead. It's like super realistic. Square, or Square Enix as they know now, seriously need to bring this series back. It was excellent. They've just kind of forgotten about it, which is a real shame. Next on the PlayStation pickups, this is Runabout Climax. This is the Japanese version as well, or most of these games are. And this is a super cool kind of racing destruction game kind of thing. Race against the clock. I had this on my PlayStation in the 90s, the Japanese version, and I don't know what happened to it anyway. I refound it again, which is awesome. This is made by Climax. What I really liked about this game was the soundtrack. The soundtrack is crazy. It's surf guitar, like 60s kind of surf guitar music. It just makes this whole thing go mental. It's not a perfect game by any means, but the music alone is worth getting it for. And my favorite PSX pickup here is definitely Darius G. This is a shoot 'em up based on the arcade game. Awesome game. I used to own this as well in the 90s. Don't know what happened to it. Anyway, I re-got this again. If you don't know the series, it's side-scrolling shoot 'em up. This is epic. This one's got like 3D graphics mixed in, but it's done really, really well. Awesome soundtrack as well. And now for a bunch of PS2 pickups. The first one is Astro Boy. You're probably thinking, that's some sort of trashy title. This one is actually made by Sega's Sonic team. This is a really good game. It's definitely underrated on the PS2. If you play this, you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's well done. It's fully complete, as you can see. And got this for pretty cheap too. Next is Disgaea 2 Cursed Memories. If you've never played any of these, they're turn-based strategy games. Really traditional turn-based strategy games. Got that kind of isometric look, grid-based affair. It's got obviously anime inspired. These games are fun. They take a lot of time to get into and a lot of dedication to get the best out of them. But if you're willing to put in the time, it's well worth it. This is the North American version. Next is City Crisis. This is a game I've always wanted to play. I don't know why it appeals to me. Like a helicopter putting out fires and rescuing people. It's made by Take-Two Interactive. This is pretty cool. It's very different. It's not really what a game you're kind of expecting. That's what I like. I like to try out new kinds of games, so I picked this one up. Here's another one I never expected to pick up. This is called Flipnik Ultimate Pinball. It's released by Capcom. I don't think they had anything to do with the making of this game. I could be wrong. I'm just assuming, but this is a game that I would never ever have picked up in a million years, but I watched a Digital Foundry video on it, and my friend Audie and John Linneman were playing it, and it looked really cool. It's kind of a pinball adventure game. The combination of those two just sounds so bizarre, and watching the game I thought that looks super cool. This is fully complete as well, so I'm really looking forward to playing this. It's just something so different. And the final pickup here is a game called Oz. This is the Japanese version. I know nothing about this game, never even heard of it before. It's released by Konami. I don't think this game got a US release. It might have. If it did, it was probably under a different name. Otherwise I would have come across it at this point. I've seen like a million PS2 games. So they might have released it under a different name, that's what I'm assuming. I haven't really looked into it, I just got this game. But it says action game on the back here. It's like, I thought it was an RPG just by the cover. But as you can see, it looks like some sort of action kind of, maybe Dynasty Warriors kind of thing. But this is another Japanese release, which I got this for super cheap as well.
And that's it for another episode of Loot and Booty. Thanks for joining me, Bastish B, at 64K. I hope you had a good time. And if you can please like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.